Wendy Jones. Oh my God, this is going to be great. We're recording, we're pre recording, we're actually live, people.
Yes.
And okay, someone's already smashed that like button.
I love it.
Don't forget to smash that like button, it helps with the algorithm. I'm Jason DeBeas. This is Wendy Jones. This is
Hello.
episode 249. Oh, it would have been so nice to have 250, but buckle up, people. The episode starts right now. Wendy, I always play this song every time we get together, so here we go.
Mind your own business. Why don't you mind your own business? Why don't you mind your own business?
Perfect. Let's go. So, how are things?
Things are good. Man, I was just telling you, today's my oldest 25th birthday. We're sitting here right next to Hermosa View. I moved here when my youngest was in kindergarten, and now he's a senior in high school. And the whole thing I've been asking you is, where the heck did all that time go?
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the things I have learned in that amount of time since living here
Yeah.
and starting a few different businesses and letting them evolve through the person that I've become is pretty freaking fun.
Yeah, you have always helped me hit the reset button when I let like the haterade pour in too much. And I don't know if you noticed, you've had to do that a little bit less because we were talking about recreating your own world on the inside, and it's weird, like a lot of the outside world follows along with it, and the part of it that doesn't just doesn't, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
I think I wanted to say something since it's my birthday, and I
love this
and on our
tradition.
birthday we kind of do what we want,
Yes, I
So-
love this tradition of doing this for your birthday.
So I last year I had a rough year because I made the mistake of like addressing trolls, like
Yeah.
don't feed with this rule, don't feed the animals when you're at the zoo, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I just want to say it like this. One of the craziest comments I've ever gotten was that someone said, enjoy sucking up to people that you will never be. And that was him taking a shot at the podcast. So I want to say with the highest level of certainty, sometimes that person's right, because when it comes to Wendy Jones, I'm always sucking up. And as hard as I try, I will never, ever be like Wendy Jones. So that troll out there, I really, really appreciate your advice. I didn't see the value in it until I had the right guest. And here we are,
Well,
turning this frown upside down.
You're not supposed to be. You are an original, and I appreciate so much what you've done with this show and helping me launch my podcast. And Jay, you're incredible.
Yeah,
I
well,
value this friendship a lot.
let's hop in. Let's hop into that. I want to, because you've been here enough times, but I want to give people like a grasp on how Bebettermedia was founded. Like you and I have tried a bunch of different things when we met each other. Thank you, Casey Jennings, wherever you are.
Yeah.
The Walsh family making
Yeah.
this connection possible. But we ain't talking about volleyball right now. I had ideas about Sports Debate Tuesday or Volleyball the Tuesday after, and I wanted to start a podcast that was like volleyball driven because I knew that I could use my wheelhouse to launch into other things that I find important. So I'm going to give you the floor, and we're going to talk about Bebettermedia and how it was started, and whether other attempts, I guess, and mistakes or whatever that led to this very successful movement you're on right now.
Yeah, I mean, everything now I view as an evolution, not a mistake. But man, the entrepreneurial journey is not for the faint of heart. So I've been fortunate to have enough longevity to know when it's time to pivot, and I know what burnout looks like. I know you have to do things for the right reasons, and as you come through a healing process and a growth process, you start to really identify with, why you're doing things. And when you move through your own stuff and you put your ego aside and you go, I really believe in this message, I've evolved from, I'm a writer at heart. I love to write. I was terrified of the camera. And I still would rather be, at home writing, and maybe, there'll be another book at some point, but but I love human connection, right? And I see so much value in the stories of common people. When I say common, like the people you just don't know about, the guy who, used to cross the street, bring my kids across the street safely,
Right.
that shows up every single morning. And, those stories don't get the notoriety they deserve. And yeah, you got to get some big names in to get people to pay attention to things. But, I went from, and I still write my blog, the Optimist Journal, and I started Be Better
Is
because
that
I
on
want,
Substack?
yeah, it's on Substack, which, by the way, shout out to that social media platform. Those
Right.
guys are freaking doing it right.
They are.
Yeah. So I've really enjoyed that. It's a writer's dream. And the video, actually, I'm going to maybe get going on some of that and record some of my meditations on there because, yeah, they have a really good thing going. So I've really enjoyed Substack for the last, I don't know how long, a
Right.
couple of months or whatever that I've been on there. But with Be Better, I just really wanted to chronicle the stories of generational learning because I think we all have so much to learn from each other. And when I look at my house, at my dinner table, like I often have people from in their teens to all the way up to their 70s. And I think that those stories of the way we share them and the way we take them down and make sure that everybody is learning from the journeys we've been on, it's really important, and I think this goes all the way back to indigenous stories of people and I never wanted to lose those, from my grandparents to it's just really, really important. So with that, I was always talking about the stories of other people, and people would get on my podcast and they'd say like, well, what about your story? And I realized that I was very hesitant to tell my own story, and there's some protection, around your kids, but now my kids are 25 to 18. So there's less of that. And I mean, I've been through some hard things. And to be honest with you, it's the hard things that make you better. It's not the comfort.
Did you think that your story, was there an inherent fear that your story might not provide value? Right? Like we live in a day and age, and I said the last 50 years that only like people with a blue check next to their name are the only ones that have like interesting stories, right? Because, and I think the rationale behind that is because they made it, right?
Yeah.
So they made it, so there's a story to tell that's interesting, and I think that's getting missed. So was there a part of you that had this fear, like, I do have a story, but who cares?
Yeah, there's a lot of family, the messages that come through your family, whether, don't talk too much. My dad was in politics, but he would always say, never read your own press, which is something that when you were talking about, like, listening to the
don't
haters.
read the reviews.
Right. It's like, you have to be really comfortable with yourself. And I don't think that I was there because the self-consciousness, the imposter syndrome, I've walked through all of that stuff now. And, just realizing that you're never going to know everything, and that curiosity and learning the next thing is what makes life great. But at a certain point, it was like the perfectionism probably is what I've battled with the most. And it's like just putting something out there and having the courage to do it. You realize how many people, just like I've conquered those fears. And, I encourage everybody else to do it because everyone's capable and everyone's story matters. So, I've enjoyed doing my podcast because I love to see the way people's faces light up when you actually listen. They want to tell their stories. But then a lot of people are, afraid to come on. And in the end, authenticity is the highest vibration. It vibrates even higher than love. So we want to be able to be real with each other and really connect. And that's just my favorite thing. Like, you don't have to agree with me, but man, just give me your real story.
Well, at least McFarlane's here in spirit, right?
Yeah.
Authenticity is, that's kind of his jam. For the people who don't know who he is, a couple episodes ago, I had an absolute savage, and just his voice alone inspires you to like want to do good things in your life.
Yeah,
right?
and he's only 35.
Yeah, like think about, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's so weird that something like Be Like Mike make someone want to go back to school and finish their college degree, right? Like,
Yeah.
it seems like one thing has nothing to do with the other, but the more you have this realization, the more connected they are. Right?
Yeah, so he's one of the people that I'm helping promote with the
Okay.
digital marketing, and we're so aligned in that generational learning. I was talking to him this morning, and I said, these stories to come through, a 50-year-old mom, a 30-year-old, a 35-year-old single guy in New York, and his story's so different than mine, but that value of authenticity and coming through hard things and using those hard things to, up level yourself as a person. There's just not, I think it's starting to grow, but we've been through such a stage of, I'll say it, entitlement of, I want people to be real with their feelings, but realize like you can rise above your feelings. You need to feel them, and then you need to see what you use, how to use those feelings to really grow. Don't get stuck.
But I would also suggest one of the challenges of being authentic is, I guess for the argument's sake, we'll call this an obstacle, is self-honesty.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with how strong you are. Be honest where your flaws are. Like, I just started this podcast of someone accusing me of calling me a suck up, right? And no podcaster wants to introduce that, because what it does is it puts them on a defensive mode, and it makes them look vulnerable, right? And it gives the other person, permission to like live rent free, or that kind of dynamic. However, with that being said, knowing yourself, you become a little more bulletproof to the criticism.
Yeah.
And bulletproof, I don't like using, because bulletproof means the bullets are coming, but you're deflecting them, and that's a good thing too. But not feeling the bullets at all, not even knowing the bullets are there, is the ultimate goal or pursuit to authenticity.
Yeah. And I think that's like, that's part of healing and living from the inside out rather than the outside in, right? I mean, when you know yourself on the inside, like what people say and how you're moving through the world, it just gets a whole lot easier. But I mean, at this stage of life, like I'm hoping we're there by now, but it's human experience it has its ups and its downs, right? So you're still going to have your down days, and part of that's just not kicking yourself when you're down, learning what those routines are that pull you back up, having the right connections, surrounding yourself with the right people that are truly authentic connections, right? I mean, there are certain circles of, things I used to do that I'll get into those places, and I might still be interested in, the sport, but I don't identify, where I was 10 years ago with, and I will always love volleyball, and I'm playing in 6-man on Friday, but
oh, cool.
Yeah. But
so
there's
like everyone's going to be there except me. Is it Friday and Saturday?
Friday and Saturday, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's when it should be. Good.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. But I mean, you just notice like your priorities change and your story deepens, and I think, when I started putting things out, I was in a very different place, and now there's like a richness to what I've learned about myself and how it doesn't have to be perfect, and it makes it even truthfully makes it even more valuable, because you learn that the hardest things that you go through, you go through those things so that you can help somebody else that's coming up right behind you. You only have to you're just this much ahead, and then there's someone that's this much ahead of you. So we're all walking each other home and Ram Dass.
Yeah, and we were probably going to get into a conversation about healthy habits, right? But you can't have healthy habits without a starting point, right? Because healthy habits is the actual run, but there's a starting block and there's a finish line. Or maybe there isn't a finish line. Maybe it's just this residual thing where you're like Forrest Gump. I'm not running are you running for world peace? I'm just running, right? So, so there's that, right? And that's why I was going with self-honesty. And self-honesty is admitting where you believe you're vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And then is it something that you can control, right? Mm-hmm. Like my first divorce, like I felt like damaged goods, and my friend was like, only you can make yourself feel like damaged goods, and I'm like, that's not true. I mean, if this didn't happen, I wouldn't feel this way, right? So there is a cause, right? Which is real, but then like you and my esteemed last guest said that it is a choice.
It is.
Fear and these things you can choose to.
Well, and recognizing what fear is there to do. I mean, like that gets into the whole nervous system. I'm a nervous system coach too. Like I help people realize like what's going on in their body and how that can expand your potential if you can expand that capacity of your nervous system. But if you've been used to living in an environment where everything is like you're on fight or flight all the time, well, the world's coming in and it looks a little different than if you expand that capacity, right? And so, when you feel that expansion and you realize it raises your frequency, and then you realize it connects you to your highest potential in the field, versus thinking that the house that you live in matters or the car that you're driving matters. All those things are great. And I hear my youngest, he loves cars, right? And I'll be like, look, if you want that Range Rover, great, but build your base, right? But and that starts with habits, and you can't force the habits. You got to build them slowly. And I know for one thing, our kids learn more from, what we do than what we say.
And that's why I don't call healthy habits a goal, because healthy habits have to have a residual effect. Like, I actually had a really good quote, but it doesn't matter now because we stumbled onto something really cool. For example, I used to weigh 265 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Now, some people would have a diet that's a goal, right? But when you reach that goal, let's say you lose 60 pounds, which I did. I lost as much as 85 pounds, but net worth, I would say net worth, I would say 65 pounds. And right now I'm like 212 and laughing about it. I'm happy. But, nice. And this is for the reason why I'm saying this, not because I like hearing my own voice and I'm talking more than Wendy, but because you can use a diet as a goal, but when the goal's done, when your end game's done, do you have something in place that keeps the weight off, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're using supplements to help you lose weight, right? And if your body becomes immune to those supplements, or if you have side effects where you have to stay, what happens is the weight comes back.
Well, that's why I've always been,
and you're worse. So
yeah.
that's what I meant by healthy habits, not being a goal, but
no, it's all about
sustainability,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, sustainability and creating that lifestyle that is truly sustainable, and that you can add to once you've got you get your base, and I mean, I'm grateful. I've been working out as an athlete. Like I've worked out my whole life, right? And when I got cut from volleyball and when I was in college, I've quickly realized that I still wanted to be in the gym, whether a coach was there to tell me to be there or not. And to this day, if I go on vacation and I take 10 days and I don't get too much workout in, I see what happens to my mood. Right. But as soon as I get back home, like the first thing I'm going to do is figure out when I'm going to the gym, when I'm getting to the beach. It's so dialed in, but it's been that way my whole life, right?
Well, don't the healthy habits kind of double check you in that regard? Like, for example, if I'm eating well to lose the weight, right?
Yeah.
And my body's like, oh, this is nice. I'm performing. I feel good. I'm sleeping better. I'm,
yeah, it's the residual. I see what you're saying. Oh, 100%.
And then, I don't know, like, I've been making a lot of stuff just with butter and olive oil because I was on a little carnivore tip, so I would just use the grill or whatever and this and that. And I go to a restaurant, and the burger looks good, but I know if they're not making it with some of the stuff I like to.
Yeah.
So my body, you know what happens? My body says, all right, I'm going to eat this, but this is some bull job.
Yeah.
Sean Ledig says amen to
go.
that. There you go.
Yeah.
What's up, Sean? But right, yeah, your body's like, all right, I'm gonna give you a one-off. I'm gonna eat this burger. I'm gonna eat this burger, but this is some nonsense, right? So, and that's what I meant by goal-driven versus residual, right? My challenge when I lost the weight was not the fear of getting it back, but I was losing. After I met my goal, I kept losing it because the
Well,
the
the
things I was
lifestyle was
eating,
working. Yeah.
just kept going. And I'm like, okay, I went from 265 and I got as low as 186. So I'm like, okay, how do I turn the off switch on?
Yeah.
And 186 shouldn't have been that skinny, but like some people are built like,
Yeah. I mean,
like
so how'd you find your happy medium?
I don't remember how.
Okay.
All I know is that, I weigh myself every morning.
Okay.
And when I'm too far this way, too far that
Yeah.
way, I do a journal twice a year.
Okay.
So the month of January after holidays. Don't guys never do a journal on holidays.
Never.
You idiots.
No, just give yourself some grace
do
during the holidays.
You don't do a food journal on Thanksgiving and Christmas,
Yeah.
you dorks. No, so yeah.
Yeah.
So I would journal January and July.
Very good.
And that's kind of helped
Well,
me.
I will say the journey as a woman is it's real. Like
Yeah.
the hormonal journey and the being used to your body being able to do certain things, and it's like you go through all these things, and you're like, okay, back to basics, but really like whole foods.
Unless you're Macron's wife.
Yeah. You gotta bring in some politics, don't you?
Candace was cross-eyed, like, I don't even want to say it on the internet. I ain't trying to get sued either. But,
No.
I'm
yeah.
repeating what someone else said. I'm not saying that.
Wasn't you?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, but you get back to basics, you figure out what works. And one of the big things is realizing what your stress levels do to your cravings and your like some people get stressed and they don't eat. Some people get stressed and they want to eat a ton. They're going to crave sugar.
Yes.
So you have to really get in touch with those things and start to recognize them, which is where the mindfulness comes in, right? It's like recognizing it in the moment. Like, hey, I just got some stressful news. Why did I go to the cabinet, right? I mean, like people do that, but you don't have a realization until you really you got to slow down and you have to ask yourself the questions and see where you want to get, and then notice the little choices that get you there, because it's never one big thing. It's a whole bunch of little choices that get us to the place where we wake up and we're like, okay, I like my life. I like how I feel,
It's odd though, because what you don't like about your life is one big thing.
True.
It's right. I'm fat. That's a one big thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I hate my job. That's 40 hours. We consider that one big thing because that's something you do 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a job where, your boss talks too much esh and you don't like the work you do, and at the end of the week, you make just enough to be broke.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And then it takes bravery to take the one big step, right? Because you got to take one big leap, and then you're going to backfill with all the small little habits. But sometimes life asks you. I mean, if your divorce is one of those, when you have you got a new baby, like there's just things that like really shake your life up.
Well, the divorce was an inciting incident that.
Yeah, for me too.
And it's so crazy that you said little things for solution, big thing problem. Because the divorce, I was 265, right? I lost the weight. I didn't have my driver's license. I got it revoked. I took all the tests, went to court, fought some old tickets, got my license back. I wanted to go back and finish school. And this is almost a year later. I returned back to school, finished my degree. The job I was at, I pulled a power play. I told them I needed a 33% raise or I'm out, because they just kept adding things in my job.
Yeah. People don't do that. That's knowing your value.
And we split the difference, a 28% raise. And that was cool because I really enjoyed the guy I worked for. I just didn't want to be abused. So, and there's a category of people out there where you tell them, or it's a Coach Carter. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I love that
Sam
movie.
Jackson, where the kids the kids your deepest fear is not that you're inadequate, but more powerful beyond, your comprehension or measure. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
I'm not, I
right.
don't have the exact
afraid
quote.
of your own power.
Yeah, and that's a real thing too.
Oh,
some
yes,
people.
it is.
There's a huge percentage of people out there that their whole life they thought they were scared because they weren't good enough. But you're not. But
it's
this is
sides,
real.
It's two sides of the same coin.
It's the story of your life.
Story of my life. Yeah. I had a chiropractor I don't know if you've heard of spinal flow,
Yep. Yeah.
but I check out like every modality.
Me
It's,
too.
You know,
No,
and he was like, I'm laying on the table. He goes, "Do you think you came into the world like this to live small?" He goes, "Look at you." You know, I'm 6 feet tall. He's like, "Yeah, just quit playing small." And then I'm a believer that spinal flow is pretty cool. Like, you know, there's a lot to the energetic body that I have learned. That's another part of the practice that
It's
I'm
scary.
bringing in. It is scary.
It's scary because if you don't think you're good enough at something and you can see to that, you fall into your lane whatever lane people decide for you, and you do the best with the cards that you're dealt.
Yeah.
Right. However, if you are scared because you know you're good enough and it's not happening for you, it's a whole new stress. It's a whole new way of having to make decisions on
yeah.
do you, I mean, right, you're taking a risk, no risk, you know,
Right. But how do
no
you
risk it,
and
no
then how do
biscuit,
you
huh?
define success, right? So when you're in that moment
Mm-hmm.
and you're taking a risk and you don't feel like you're being seen or whatever it is that, you know, how you got to dial it back and go, how do I define success? Like, what do
Right.
I really need out of this? And why am I doing it?
Right.
Right.
And in that case, you ask
You
what
find
your end game
alignment.
is, right?
Yeah.
Because there are some things that have end games, and that's one of them, right? So
Yeah. Well, and people have to make a living and they have to do, you know, it's like depends on why you're doing what you're doing. And there's always a blend.
I'll give you an example. Like last year, all the work that I put in, the years of work from my agenda, which was color commentating, right?
Yeah.
I coach, I do the podcast, and I do all these things that I think I'm good at, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, there's a chronological pattern that suggests I'm right, but getting to where I got to go, waiting my turn, and not feeling entitled to it, knowing that I deserve this,
But you're good at it.
and
Jay.
knowing that I'm not getting what I want on a certain level.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be implicit about this. I should just say it outright,
Yeah.
but I'm just trying to shape my thoughts, and that's what the podcast is. We're thinking out loud here.
Yeah.
But for me to be glossed over by people that not only do I know that I'm better than, but if you ask them, they will say, you know, I mean, look, if they get the position, they're going to shut up and take it. But in their heart of hearts, they know I deserve it. So there was a patch that I went through, and that's the question, right?
Yeah.
We're coming back to the question: what's success?
Yeah.
Right? Is my success making a statement? Because making a statement, in the classic sense of the word, is contingent on what everybody else thinks about you.
Yes.
There's no definition that connects not caring what anyone else thinks and making a statement. That's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
No. They right.
Yes.
they don't. Those two don't go together.
Right.
So it's and that might have been my mistake. Like I'm because I'm a guy that generally doesn't care what anyone thinks of me.
Right.
But for what I'm trying to do, you know, and I don't know, maybe I was optimistic, if not hopeful, that if I kept it about the work, these things happen on their own. And,
Well, and
they do.
I would say they do. Sometimes they take a little longer than you think they're going to, right? But the thing is, like, you're passionate about volleyball, and you're really good at commentating.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the end, if you stay on that course,
it's happening.
it's happening.
It's happening
right?
now this year.
Yes, I know.
It's been
and
a great
I'm
year,
telling you,
Jake.
there's two people that I like to hear commentating beach volleyball. You and Jeff Alzina.
Oh, Jeff is a
So-
real one. Jeff should be back
right?
on the
Yeah.
mic, dude.
So
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of commentary out there, but both of you break down a volleyball game for me. I freaking love it.
It's weird. I got a little eye roll from one of the commentators in New York. I mean, there's three of them, so I'll leave everybody else to speculate and guess because it's a podcast and I like to have fun.
Yeah.
But
I don't even know who's commentating now. I didn't, and I saw your pictures from Central Park and that looked incredible.
Since I had Wendy Jones here and I'm all about positivity, I will be positive and say that Rich Lamborn was someone I didn't particularly like listening to because though his analytical was on point and he is a very cerebral dude. He reminds me of like Beast from X-Men, right? This
Totally.
muscular guy
Yeah.
that's like, that has like a professor's brain.
Yeah.
Like his delivery I didn't think was very good.
Yeah.
I thought his delivery was very dry and you can only listen to that for so long. But as an actor and as someone who's been doing this for for a minute, I've seen him take these beats. He stops, he goes again, he does this, and now he's kind of reeling me in and the audience in.
Yeah.
And now, like, there's a whole lot of hee-hawing and praising of the level of patience that the AVPs had with just saying, hey, they believe this guy's gonna work, and it worked. It's cool, and look, the combination of him and Kevin are good. The combination of Cameron and him are good. My only thing was I was not a particular fan of Kevin and Cameron Irwin together. I'm not saying that they suck. I'm just saying that was not my favorite combination. And I don't think the way I phrased that was like this huge disrespect. People with a blue check next to them, they have to take criticism too. And the criticism is not wrong because they're trolls. Sometimes it's fair. And I've never been unfair about those things, you know?
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not because I'm trying to be careful, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, and quite frankly, when you're not careful, the world of social media gets a little harder.
Yeah.
Right?
You ever see like LeBron James, like, like if you don't think he's the GOAT, you're like this huge hater, but you just said 19 nice things about him.
Yeah.
He's a great ambassador. He's the best basketball player alive today. Like you can say all of these things, and married his high school sweetheart, right? You can just go through the whole list, but yeah. You really? You know that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you think that's just the athlete? That's just
I think
elite athletes being sensitive?
I don't even think it's just elite athletes. I think it shows you what people are tuned into.
Right.
Right? I mean, if we hear the negative, I pay attention to that. Like, I know the people I hang out with the most and the people that I really like to surround myself with, they hear the positive. And there's always going to be, there's tough stuff, and the tough stuff, makes us dig in and learn things, but what you focus on grows, right?
Yeah.
So if someone says 5 good things and 1 bad, and you focus on the bad thing, that's just a negativity bias in your brain, and you can work on that.
And negativity bias is a real thing. Healthy habits. I got into the whole weight thing. Give me an example of things outside of my example. Let's go more examples on healthy habits.
Well, I mean,
guys, don't forget to smash that like button.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're live.
Right
and
on.
It helps with the algorithm.
I mean, I have, one of the pivots I've made is to my YouTube channel has become a meditation channel, and meditation has absolutely changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, while I taught a couple of classes locally, when I got into, like, I got really burnt out, doing podcasts every week. You're great at it. I wanted to learn the marketing part of it. I talked about some things that made the algorithm mad.
Right.
I'll leave it there. And
that's.
but
that's a huge percentage.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And then I had to dial it back. I slowed way down, and I was like, what changed my life the most? And there's been a lot of things in this last 10 years that have really brought my nervous system into a place where I can my capacity, instead of having a bad day, like now I celebrate my capacity. Like when something really crappy happens, like I go, oh, this is one of those gut check, celebrate your capacity moments. And I cry sometimes, I do these things, but meditation is something that allowed me to know that I am okay. Like you bring yourself back to safety. You bring yourself back to looking at your feet on the ground and going, right here, right now, I'm okay. And I can take anything from here and grow it. So, I'm excited.
Is that something you do in the morning or the night or just
in the morning? And then I have, I listen to frequencies at night. So it really calms your brain. And then
what do you mean by listen to frequencies?
So if you go on YouTube,
I know, but we have a
okay. So if you go on YouTube, there are different healing frequencies. 432 is a great one. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite. But you can go on YouTube and you can play these things for 12 hours a night, and you'll be surprised like what happens when your body takes this in. It changes. It will bring you down. it will slow your mind down. It will bring you into a place where your frequency changes. And whether you're trying to relax or rev up or do binaural beats that, are going to help your brain focus more, all of these things are, sound is an incredible healing modality. So there's a lot of things, but
Yeah, and I guess is that something you do like in the morning, like watch the sunrise on a grateful universe, and in this case, I'll call a rare occasion. We've had nothing but overcast mornings like the entire year.
I know.
Like,
Yeah, I'm a definite morning person. I'm a big believer with Andrew Huberman telling people you walk outside. Like I go and get my cup of coffee, open my back door, go outside as the sun's coming up. That helps set your circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
It's going to get your day kind of going. I had somebody ask me yesterday, why do you wake up so early? And I've kind of been that way my whole life. And I told him, I was like, I get depressed when I miss the morning. I think the morning's the best time of the day. But like you and I, Jay, we're on different, you're a night owl, right? So it's like getting to know yourself and knowing when that time is for you to slow down your brain. But it doesn't take a lot.
right.
Like it's, 10 minutes is a lot. Like you can do a lot with just a simple habit. You can start with 2 minutes. But I'm really loving doing this meditation channel. It's growing and it's, it's fun.
I listened. I done some last night, and you know what it made me do? It made me like, basically where you're sitting right now. I just started doing some stretching exercises and some kind of yoga-based stuff that I learned from like Movement for Actors. In fact, I kind of want to change my mood. You see that aloha hat right there? Grab that hat from me.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna put that hat on.
Oh, wow. Taking off the Yankees cap. That doesn't happen very often.
No, it's just my guys from Hawaii. There we go.
Love
My guys from Hawaii that brought like the aloha spirit from me.
It's such a good
I think
vibe.
I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah.
And so it's weird that I almost go to sleep the same time you wake up.
I know. We trade texts, and I know that you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Like and I'll be
No,
headed off to bed, and you're But that's it. It's knowing yourself, right? So if you have the ability to honor that schedule, not everybody can, right? It's a gift to be able to kind of, the entrepreneurial journey is chock full of pitfalls, but we also have, you could say you're working 24/7, but you're also have the ability to, carve out 2 hours to have a conversation like this, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
Let's talk about emotional awareness. Now, one of the biggest pit stops of emotional awareness is half the time you're not aware of it, and we call it being a prisoner of the moment, right?
Yeah.
You say things out of almost animal impulse or like trained impulse to there's a reaction, there's an action, there's a reaction, and is emotional awareness basically just allowing yourself to go through that progression and maybe journaling and diagnosing it, and making like those negative moments or emotional moments dwindle a little bit, maybe not cold turkey.
Yeah. I mean, I would say journaling is a great skill, especially if you can allow yourself to just free write and really be radically honest with yourself, because that's what self-awareness is, right? It's radical honesty. It's not painting a picture, which I fully realize when I look back at some of my old writing. I'd be like, oh, you were trying to convince yourself of something, right? And it's like, no, you really have to drop into the ouch, or I effed this up, or
Right.
like if you can't come to that, then we're just spiritual bypassing, right? I mean, then we're just saying like we've got the answer before we really like touch the wound. Now, I don't believe in staying in the wound and just being like, I'm healing. But you do have to, I say like, not what we focus on grows, because that's the positive, but the negative is like what we ignore, we repeat, right? So if we get in these cycles and we don't shine the light on them, then we don't really know what it is that's motivating us to make, and you'll find yourself repeating cycles until you're good and ready to learn them, right? So you can probably look at your life and say, all right, I had this kind of a marriage, and then I repeated, whether it's relationships or in business, but you will repeat things until you get radically honest enough with yourself to go, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then what is it about me? Like, you can't point your finger because everyone's got a story about, the hardest thing that ever happened to them. And if you're going to let that be your excuse, you're only hurting yourself. And I tell this to my kids all the time. We've all taken some knocks, but it's like, if you're going to use that as your excuse to not be the best version of yourself, that you're only hurting you. So,
and I guess through that method, you know what I think happens? Some of these things which we think are involuntary become a choice. And when they become a choice, you actively make the right choice.
Yes.
Right?
You're bringing it into your consciousness. Right. You're not letting your subconscious rule the roost, which it does in a lot of cases. And that's what self-awareness is all about, is bringing that stuff to the light. But the thing is that what we keep in the dark is what makes us scared. It's what gives us the anxiety. Once you shine a light on it, you go, oh, Jay's been through a divorce too. Oh, that guy over there, he's lost his job. He's had financial trouble. She's done, it's like we all have that stuff. So walking around and acting like you're perfect is really a very fearful place to be living from.
I think a lot of our personalities are shaped by what we covet, right? Mm-hmm. And to quote Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, how do we covet, and we covet what we see every day.
Yeah.
And you see people who are successful and they look like they have their ash together, right? And you see how people revere them and praise them. You see that, you covet that, you kind of want to be that, right? So what happens is maybe you watch them long enough and see what they do, and then you try to do things like them. And sometimes it works out for you, and someone inspires you, and sometimes that's, we're not machines, right? We're people, and sometimes you're not that person.
Yeah, and we're all going to have different habits and things that work for us, and a lot of times we could be coveting something, excuse me, that we don't actually know what that person's story is. Like, when, especially, you see social media highlights, and you can garner a lot of great nuggets of thought. Like, I have to say, in the last 10 years, like, I've learned a ton on podcasts from people that are out there, like, in big jobs and big leadership positions. I will take those nuggets in, but you don't know the whole story ever. So, take what you like, see if it works for you. But they say, like, the masters, to become a master, you're blending 100 different modalities. Everybody else is going to give you something. Like, how are you going to take those things and make your modality? Mm-hmm. Because that's going to be intrinsic to you. It's going to work for you, and then other people will do the same. But, like, create something that people can take one or two great things from and then turn it into their own craft and their own masterpiece, right? We're not all supposed to be the same.
Right. I remember Thor when he tells his father, Odin, I'm not as strong as you. And he says, you're not. You're stronger. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are you the god of again?
Yeah.
And I think we're exploring, and it's weird because I had some stuff I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if your genius is kind of knocking these things out and having them segue into the next thing as we go. Because
no, you're doing great.
If you're doing
this is
that,
my jam.
I was gonna say
I can talk volleyball and politics, but this is my jam.
You are a genius because what's happening right now is like, I mean, I'm not that organized on my podcast. I just like to have people on, and we like to just talk ash, right? So out of respect for your genius, I was trying to just like bullet point it. But what's happening, you're I'm breaking character because you're segueing into like the next thing I wanted to talk about. Great. And that was changing your world within, right? And before we got on the podcast, you said I look happier and totally 180 from last year. And that came from realizing that I don't have to be smaller in someone else's small world.
Yeah.
Because in order to exist in a small world, you have to be smaller than that world, right? You have to be a little bit smaller in it.
Yep. Okay, you're a Leo, right? We just had your birthday. That's a huge fire sign. Like, you are meant to show up in this world in a massively loud, fiery, here to make an impact.
Yep.
Look at me, not in an egoic way. Like, there's a way to show up that's truly helpful to yourself and other people.
Right.
That's genuine and authentic, and that's who you are, right? So you stepped into that place, and whatever conditioning you had, from everything that life has brought you to this point, that told you, like, yeah, tone it down, like, be a little smaller, like, your authentic self, your true self, does not want to be that, and that will always give you a rub, right? And so you were feeling that rub, and you figured out how to step into your authenticity. And then when we do that, we start to attract all the things that we were meant to attract, right? At that highest level. And then that sense
that was my goal.
I mean, the sense of accomplishment that comes with that is not from the ego. It's from really genuinely showing up in the world as the person that you're meant to be.
That's always worked for me, which is why, again, I hit a pit stop last year, because me doing that just allowed everything else to fall into place. Like, I've never had to fit in someone else's world to feel successful. What I did was I had my own world.
Yeah.
And I made it big enough and expansive enough where others can exist in that world with me. And sometimes
but look at all those places it's taken you, Jay. I mean, you've been in some pretty tough positions.
Yeah.
Right? And look where you are now. Like,
can't complain.
Can't complain. But that didn't just happen.
Well, I can complain, but I'm not.
But it didn't just happen. Like,
Right.
you made some tough choices along the way. You got yourself out of some situations that were less than desirable. Like, comfort, as great as it is to feel safe and secure, which I want for everybody. I want it for myself. Like that. But it's when the chips are down, that is what I thought for the longest time. I think growing up, I didn't think I could handle, because I thought, I lived a pretty charmed life, like fairly, vanilla, and I'm a good girl, and I follow the rules, and I, go where I'm supposed to go, and I go to college, and I get married, and I have kids, and I follow the blueprint. And it wasn't until everything fell apart. Mm-hmm. And I've had, even before my divorce, I'd had moments with my kids where, like, things that teach you really hard things, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, I'm tougher than I thought.
Was it
Right?
the divorce that sparked your need to change, or what did it?
I think
was
the
it a
growth
series
was,
of inciting incidents?
I mean, I got married at 22. I didn't know myself,
Right.
And I will say, like, parenting, being a mom is the thing that has been the most natural thing to me in my entire life. Like, everything else, and being that today's my daughter's 25th birthday and she made me a mom. So, like, that feeling of, I didn't know myself then, but I knew the second I became a mom, I had this sense of purpose and an understanding for what I wanted to impart. And that I could have run a family like a CEO runs, with a mission statement and a vision. And I had that. And I still do. And I teach my kids, like, where we've come from, like, this generational healing that I'm all about is not about calling out things from the past and figuring out how you ended up divorced, but realizing that, like, when you get into a relationship and you get to these places where it's time to dig in or, go your separate ways, like, I still root for people to dig in, but it takes two people that want to really face their demons, right? If you got in young, and if not every relationship is meant to be a lifetime, but divorce, it kicks the crap out of you, So yeah, you got to use those hard things to really realize what it is you want to teach, who you want to be. And so now my kids and I sit around and we talk, like, the conversation in my house is a lot more real than what I grew up with. And that's not shade on my parents. It's a different generation.
It's not wrong. It's just different.
Yeah, it's just different. And I was wired with this super deep emotional core that wants to know why everything feels the way it does and why it works out this way. And if you don't have people that, like, want to connect on that level or know how to connect on that level, it's lonely. So, my kids are wired more like me, and they're like, oh, there goes our mom again. I'm so deep. But they talk like that now too.
So I guess my question's twofold. Was that was there a series of inciting incidences on an equal scale as the divorce, or was the divorce the biggest part? And two, well, let's do the first part.
I mean, I think in part you're growing, and I know that like people when I got divorced, I had so many people be like, "What? What happened?" Like we didn't see that coming. And what you end up realizing is what's going on probably the 5-7 years before is just as hard as going through the divorce, because you're growing, you're changing, maybe you're growing apart. You know, the whatever demons we have within us, if we don't want to face them, if we are facing them, all of that is just as hard as going through the divorce. And in the end, when you find that place of authenticity, you're going to feel better, even though going through a divorce is really hard, right? But when in the end, you want to come out the truest version of yourself and keep growing through that. And then you can sit there and say, like, you know, I don't regret anything.
Yeah. And it also depends on the kind of divorce, right? Some
100%.
divorces are, it's like a train wreck, or you see the derailment and the train's moving too fast. You can't do anything about it. And there's some that like mine, me and my other at the time, like we get along.
Which is great.
We get along. We talk. We talk
awesome.
to each other a couple, maybe a couple of times a year. We
Yeah, because you can let a relationship evolve, right? And that's a sign of maturity, and that's
right.
That's good. I mean, I don't have enemies. Like, I don't write people off, but you do start to choose. There's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be with? Who do you want to be around? All of those things, very, very important.
And it's also about, I mean, maybe the length of the relationship too, right? Like sometimes like here's a piece of paper, right? Like if you know right away, like I was only married 1 year and a month, right away, it's this, like that, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't, it's like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had to take
Right.
that
Yeah.
moment for that.
Right there. Yeah. My youngest just turned 18, so that makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And I was married from 22 to 42.
Right.
So that there's a lot of life lived in there.
There really is.
Yeah.
There really is. And yeah, that was, I guess my second part is, I guess realizing that you don't have to go at it alone is productive, right? There are, like I did a lot of my recovering. I guess on the emotional side, I did. It was internal, and I did that alone. Look, on another scale, like not giving me enough time to like think about the divorce. I had some really awfully good friends, and I'll just name them. And these are the names that are gonna wow people because they weren't my closest friends. Like Jeff Schitzel, someone that everybody hates in New York, but he's always like there for me. Christian Perry, who was a professional dancer, who was also a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, right? Like he's like, I'm parked outside. We're going dancing. We're going to the Copa. Let's go. Get dressed. I'm like, I got some ice cream. I got some ice cream. I'm in bed. I'm about to go to bed. This guy's like, I'm parked outside.
Yeah.
Of course, Eugene. My closest friend ever. So I just wanted to cite those names, but on from the emotional thing, I did that. I went at it alone, but I'm not stupid. I know that just because I did it doesn't mean it's like a really
you've graduated.
Like a great friggin' idea.
You've also graduated, right? I mean, you do go through that. And I think you do have to do a certain amount of that's like those reels where they say, no one's coming to save you. I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
Like if you don't dig in and really get to know yourself and know how to get yourself out of certain situations, you're going to come up short. But that's what I love to coach people on, is like how we become so in touch with ourselves that we can connect with people through strength and not through this like a neediness, a codependency. Like we are meant to be connected. We're meant to be interdependent beings. But codependency, like that will kick the crap out of you, right? So know your worth, connect with people in your authenticity, and watch the growth that happens from there. Yeah. Like it's for real, and it's so freaking different.
Yeah.
But learning to receive, this is my other thing. Learning to receive. Like we're all really, really strong, You cannot heal if you cannot learn to receive.
Right.
Right? We have to know when we need to ask for help. We have to let people help us. And it can be as hard or harder.
I think it's also about identifying what supports your growth
Yeah.
and recovery and versus what hinders it, right? Like recognizing like
Yeah.
some things, like for example, I go back to eating, right? I grew up on Flatbush Avenue, like the things we think that are healthy for us.
Yeah.
Like frosted mini wheats, right? Which is basically sugar on top of whole grains,
Yeah.
right? That's the highest on our health chart, right? But we don't know that. We think
No,
it's,
they need to dump
we
that pyramid.
gorge
We were
that.
talking about that this
Yeah.
weekend.
Do you remember
Yeah.
that? I think I sent that to you.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah.
made a mess
Well,
of
you
that.
got eggs on the bottom of that.
No, seriously.
You have eggs on the bottom, eggs and bacon on the bottom of that.
Yeah.
But that is on the top.
Yeah. It's craziness.
Yeah. Follow the science.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think recognizing what supports your growth
Yeah.
and your healing versus what hinders it is also a big challenge. But I think doesn't that come from like just how you were raised and the character armor you built up, and maybe you're 30 and you have a lot of undressing to do to redress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you've taken it so far. Maybe life happened, right?
Yeah. Well,
Maybe
the
you went to high
conditioning
school,
is
maybe
for
you
real.
graduated college, or maybe you couldn't afford college and you had to go straight to work at 18 and you're working 40, 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and then you're 30, then you're 30 and it's like, geez.
Self-actualization is a privilege.
Right.
You have to get out of survival mode to be able to learn some of these things that we're talking about.
Well,
And that I will never, no matter how hard it gets, not say. And that was something that chipped away at me. When I started writing my blog and I was living in a Walk Street house and, I put a picture of my kids on my blog and they were walking down the steps towards the Walk Street. And the significance of the picture for me was that it was the first thing that all four of them had done. They're 7 years apart where they could all go together. They were all headed off to junior lifeguards. Right. Well, that's a big deal because one, it's a kick-ass program. And two, they were all four doing the same thing. And that was a big deal to me. And somebody commented on my blog, well, it must be nice, like walking, like basically that view from your big mansion or whatever. She had no idea what I was going through in my life. And just because I lived in that house at that point, like that did not define, the anxiety and the things that I was experiencing on the inside. And so that I will always carry because that like the things don't define people, the house, the cars, it's what's on the inside. You
can have what others perceive as everything in the world and still
be miserable
and still like unalive yourself. I'm on YouTube. I'm being careful.
Yeah, that whole
I'm actually just looking up a stat, like that thing, unaliving yourself for rich people versus poor. just for fun.
Oh man, that's heavy.
But yeah, and I think that goes back to what I say like every episode. Just because you see where someone's standing doesn't mean you know how they got there, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and what I love about you, Jay, is you and I have always talked about, if your elevator went up, like, are you pushing the button and sending it back down?
Right.
And in the end, that's the world that I want to live in, is where people see each other for, the myriad of things of qualities and stories that they are, and not one thing, not one defining, race, gender, creed, color, all the other things that we are being told to segment each other off. Like that doesn't help anybody.
No. And this is actually the study I was going to refer everybody to. We're not going to go through it now, but you could just Google search that and it has this huge in-depth thing.
Does money buy enough happiness? Investigate the relationship between income and suicide.
Boop.
Sorry.
Kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, yeah. So, I mean, they have graphs. This is, I don't know, like some kind of like almost a 1-year study. It's a huge sample size. and they're very upfront about the variables and, you know, how they got there, what's missing, you know, it's like real social science, a real scientific study where, you know, we can always get to the conclusion and, you know, just say, hey, nutshell this for me. Our findings complicate the notion that money can buy happiness, in quotations. I'll go back to it. Under the assumption that happier people are less likely to unalive themselves. Our analysis shows a strong positive relationship between income and blank rates across U.S. countries over time. Higher college education rates are also positively correlated with boom rates. Through the relationship between race and gender on a number of it requires.
So we're talking
further,
about we're talking about, you know, grit.
They're basically saying they need to look at it longer, but so far,
But if you think about it, like, all of these things are real. Depression's real, anxiety's real. We've all been there. Grit and resilience, if we can raise kids and communities that know how to dig in and have the support networks, and we need more of that. Like, I am a huge advocate for mental health, but mental health that truly addresses the problem. And I don't think that the problem can be addressed just through the mind. Like, I'm a huge believer in the somatics, in the, you know, exercise. It's the mind-body connection that activates your spirit.
Yeah, like read this. Basically, it says future studies can aim to identify relationships between other economic factors, including cost of living, as well as more comprehensive analysis on the impact of demographics of said rates. Okay. All right. That's as much of a nutshell as we're going to get on that.
Yeah. But, you know.
No, but it goes back to what I was saying. Someone saying, oh, it must be nice for you. You have your mansion, you have this and that. I mean, they're
it's a huge overjudgment. Like, it's just a very judgy place to be.
Well, I think as long as people start with the premise of just because you see where someone stands does not mean you know how they got there. If they can start that way, they wouldn't be. Yeah, they wouldn't be quick to click send on really something as asinine as that,
right?
You know?
But it wasn't really about me. It's like you know that it's like whatever they're going through in their life, this is something that they're focused on,
right?
And so, you know, it never has anything to do about you. But in that moment of my life when I was feeling incredibly fragile for other reasons, and also, you know, not wanting to be judged. And now it's like you just can't worry about that. Like, but if you don't have that state of mind and you're worried about how you're perceived, putting yourself out there, like, I've held myself back a lot because of fear of how I'm, you know, am I going to be seen as unloving or judgmental or, you know, taking advantage of somebody? Like, these are my worst fears of. But then you watch the news, and sometimes I sit there and watch the news and go, I don't know how these people sleep at night, so I'm judging, right? Like, but the stories are so bad, you know. Like,
I also think it's also about just being happy for people too,
yes.
right? Like, so basically, I have this. Like, they see the picture of your family. It's like, so basically, I have this, and you might not, and you're upset at me because I have this and you don't.
Yeah.
Right? Is that an indictment on you? Just being happy for. Feeling blessed for the things you have, right?
Yeah.
Gratitude is. It's the same thing with like student loans. Like, where it's like, I worked all this time. You know, I'm like, so basically, you're paying all these loans and you're laboring, and while you're paying these loans, you wish no one ever had to go through this. And now they're trying to develop a system where other people don't have to go through this, and you're angry at them, right? Yeah. You know, so I look at it through that way, through that lens, because you can always. Because when you go the other way, it's like, God, does deserve have anything to do with it sometimes, you know? No. So.
Yeah.
And not everybody's a legacy student, and not everybody can, you know, come from the right high school where they can have an academic scholarship. Yeah. Not everybody, you know, these are variables.
Yeah. And different brains, different bodies, different. I mean, if you look at it, it's like, you know, by the all-American standard, not everybody comes out of that. But that doesn't mean that life does not become something amazing. It just takes different inputs sometimes, different habits, different, you know, you're going to come through things differently. But if you can embrace those things and not resent those things, you know, you're in a whole different place, because gratitude and anxiety cannot exist at the same time.
No.
Right?
No.
So when I get anxious about stuff, I'm like, how am I going to pull this off? That's getting stressful. You stop and you go, what am I grateful for? And the second you do that, stuff starts to change.
Yeah.
You pull yourself out of that. But you have to, it takes a while to
Well,
learn that.
all right. For me to shape this next question, we have to have a premise that you and I agree on, maybe.
Okay.
We were talking about success and what defines success. Is it making a statement? Is it because making a statement is generated by what other people think? Is it an inner thing, or is it just you being a good mother? Right? Is success?
Well, I've
is
wrestled a lot with that.
But you and I can agree that our success is measured by giving back to what we were, or where we made it from, and the best way we know how. You found a way to do it through journaling, through this incredible the YouTube videos, which I watched last night. I'm laying on the floor. I mean, the previous episode, that guy made me exercise. I knocked out 100 push-ups listening to that. That dude was more like the grounded, like the first chakra, and like exploded third. But yours is more like first and fourth.
Yeah,
like groundedness.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't know which one you listen to, but yes.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I work on my root chakra a lot.
Yeah.
That one's big for me.
Yeah. Do you agree with me that our success is defined from finding ways to give back to where we made it from?
Yeah, I think that has a
good.
huge,
So we can,
huge.
Good. So we can move on to the next thing. How's it feel?
Pretty surreal.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, pretty surreal at this point. I think there's a lot of things in life that are celebrated that people, the measuring stick is, how much money did you make doing it? How much, notoriety did you get? How many followers do you have? And I have really pulled back from all of that. And as my kids are hitting these ages where I can literally leave the house and go somewhere for a night or 4 nights, and I don't have to call anybody. I just go, hey guys, empty the dishwasher, I'll be back.
Well, the youngest one was the biggest challenge, right?
Completely.
And here he goes.
He's crushing it.
Well, his diet helped.
Yeah. I mean, yes. So
the benefits of that
diet,
that kids, what he's
sleep.
eating, how that helps him conquer things that
it's the gut health.
You would spend so much money on medications for.
Yeah. That don't, in the end, they're not really doing anything. Right?
You're like, by the way, it doesn't
No, it's the gut-brain
back.
connection. And how well can we nourish that gut? How that affects the nervous system, how your nervous system expands, and then how you show up in the world, right? I've been learning that since that kid was born. And nothing will motivate you more than trying to make your kid's day a little bit better. And that's where this all started, to be honest with you.
The conquest is on, man.
Yeah.
But you get big enough and be able to spread some of that real information.
Yeah.
Or in their case, malinformation. It's true, but it hurts their cause.
Yeah.
So there's misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, right? Do you know that?
Yeah, no.
Educating our audience. Misinformation means, in the classic sense of the word, you are misinformed. You might believe it's true or not, but you're spreading something that was wrong because you heard it from somewhere or whatever. Now, disinformation is something that already know is demonstrably false, but you're doing it because you have an agenda and you're spreading a narrative. And in my estimation, there's been more disinformation than misinformation. There's a lot of liars out there. Now, malinformation is something that most likely is true, but for some reason they will cancel you anyway. It goes against.
That's where I get myself, and that's where I get myself into trouble.
Of course, and listen, there's, I mean, you gotta, when you get your YouTube handle taken down, and your what you're trying to do, like your mission statement, right? When you get that, when people say you don't have a voice anymore, you start to educate yourself on the distinction between the three, right? And I don't know. I mean,
but you can't fight the giants. We both have been through, but who are,
Well, something that I've known is, historically, canceling someone doesn't make it go away.
No.
What happens is it makes it become so big and inflated that eventually it's going to blow up. It's going to be too big and it's going to blow up.
Yeah.
And the person that did the canceling is not going to see it coming because they thought they're gone, right? So,
Right. But if you let that moment
Mm-hmm.
make you feel small and then diminish your message,
right.
that's when you get into trouble, right? I
But
mean,
but you're
right.
right. When eventually the
The truth finds its
the
way.
groundswell
yeah, the
of
truth finds
truth,
the way. Yeah.
the groundswell of truth eventually bubbles over until it creates this massive earthquake where you have to pay attention to
Well,
it.
and that's why there's so much independent media and podcasting going on, because I honestly think it is the place where people have such a wealth of information at their fingertips. Like, you can't keep it quiet.
No. Well, I was, before you came, I was reading about like some of the night shows that are being like canceled and this and that.
Yeah, that's quite a story.
And again, without getting into politics, I will only say this, and we're talking about Stephen Colbert, and most recently, The View is on hiatus. We're going on hiatus.
Really? I didn't know
Joy's
that.
like, am I supposed to say that? And they're like, you just did. So on national, like, yeah.
God.
Why would you ask, am I supposed to say that when you just did? And it's
Yeah.
live TV.
Yeah.
But I will only say this, and if there's anything, if this doesn't interest you, we'll move on to something else. But I wanted to land by saying this. In that genre, if you fail to keep your oath to the office of comedy, you will cease to be funny. And I'm going to say that again, camera on me. If you fail to keep your oath to this particular office, which is the office of comedy, entertaining people at night, you cease to be funny. Because there's nothing comedic about preaching to people. There's nothing comedic about, even if you're right, there's nothing, there's nothing funny about that. Trust me, I know. I'm the biggest hater ever, and I'm out here speaking truth to power all the time. And at some point, nobody wants to hear that, because sometimes they're here to be entertained, and that's what happened to Colbert. Because when Colbert did the Colbert Report, he's probably the funniest guy on TV, and it actually rivaled that of The Daily Show, which was The Daily Show was first, and that was on second. Yeah. And I don't know if you remember him. He was,
I do.
He was someone that pretended he was a Republican, and like,
Yep.
like when Obama won the second election, because he always comes on the Colbert Report with like a suit and a red tie or whatever.
Yep.
That night he had a robe and slippers. He's like, no, I'm not working tonight. He's like kicking up his feet, and he's like, due to this technicality called the election, Obama is beaten. And he's like, look at the map behind us. Look at all that red. It should be voting by the square mile, right? I mean, that was funny.
Yeah.
And what happened to him? What happened to that?
It's a lot.
Yeah,
A lot of resentment, but
look.
we
Even
said we
his
weren't going to
most
get
loyal,
into this.
but even his most loyal supporters
yeah.
will be lying to themselves and saying that's the same Colbert from the Colbert Report to the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
That and Bill Maher said that he kept an oath to the office of comedy, and even though I think he's a shill too, he has sustainability because, again,
Yeah.
it has to be funny.
Yeah.
It's an entertainment show, and the host, you're grabbing hosts who have a comedic background because you want people to laugh.
Yeah.
In a strategic way,
Right.
and that's gotten
Well,
lost.
and
Like Jay Leno
yeah.
was, I didn't find him funny, but people found him funny
Yeah.
because he kept his oath to the office of comedy.
Yeah.
So
And comedy's a great unlock,
yeah,
right? It disarms the crowd.
it's the last bastion of free speech,
It's so true.
of hope, and when
Yeah.
you abandon that, not even the people who have an agenda want you anymore.
Right.
And you said it's ratings driven. If no one's watching your show,
No,
it's
that's
not because
TV. I don't watch TV in the evening. I watch YouTube. I find
but
what I'm
I used
interested
to like
in,
those shows, like
Yeah.
The Daily Show and the Colbert Report were my jam.
Yeah.
They were hilarious.
Yeah.
And in many ways, Stewart still is. And if I'm around, I catch him, I will. But and I thought it. I don't even know how we got there, but I think it's just about, like you said, people respect that level of genuineness, or what we were talking about at the beginning of authenticity.
Yeah.
We've come full circle, huh?
Yeah.
It's sustainable and it goes a long way, and people want it, and it's interesting and it's real, and people want to watch that.
Well, and you have to be, and it goes back to being really, comfortable with yourself and being able to tell your story, but also like I just don't think we were dealing with this on the media level when you go back 40 years, I have moments where I walk through my house and I'll have this like pain of nostalgia where it's like, I miss having a TV on with like some trusted voice in the background that was telling me what was going on. I was a news junkie since I was 7 years old.
Yeah. Well,
But I
you
don't
didn't get
have
it in
that
mass, though.
feeling anymore.
Well, back then, you also have to consider you didn't get the news in mass.
You're right.
You'd watch
Yeah.
the 10 o'clock news. It was an hour, and a maximum. I'm talking about a maximum, at the most, an hour of your day.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And now it's a cyclical thing, and
Yeah.
it's a cycle all the time. You have 24-hour news at work.
Right. And that what I do, like I take my news in, at the gym, in front of the bank of TVs. I see a couple different news channels. I can tell which ones. I can read the headline without looking at the logo and tell you which news station it is. But I do get my stories that way. But I listen. I mean, what is that? Half an hour on the treadmill, and then I'm
Yeah,
I'm
you
out.
have to. Well, I wasn't worn out by lies or by like mainstream media lying to me. I was worn out by listening to what the actual truth was. That's exhausting.
It is.
You're like, because there's nothing you can do about it. You're just
local,
exhausted.
state, or national. It is. Yeah. I mean, I find myself going, oh God.
I got nothing left.
No.
I surrender.
Yeah, and I'm going to work out. I'm going to get rid of this feeling. I'm going to get out of here, But you do want to know what's going on. It's important to be informed.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you, to your bandwidth credit, said, okay, this is X amount of time I'm going to listen to this stuff. Yeah. The rest of the day, there's a 24-hour day. I have this finite amount of time in the day, finite amount of time in my life, right?
Yeah.
That I want, that can be a good time or can suck.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's certain times of my day, right? I take in different kinds of content. I take different, as I'm going to sleep, I'm not taking in the news. I'm watching YouTube.
Well, that's
astrology video that I'm interested in, and all of my spirituality, and that sends you off to a good place, right? And then you're lucid.
Well, Kelly and I went on. If we're both home at the same time, we get something called our smart on, then our stupid on. So our smart on, we watch Jeopardy.
Yeah,
like,
I love
her and me together can answer every single question.
I bet.
Although we know who's answering most of those questions, right? Come on, there's smart people and there's people like, I'm smart too, and I'm just like, shut up.
Well, both of you are.
You're not.
Yeah.
But both of us together can answer
I
every
can
single
only
question.
imagine. Yeah.
And then we get our stupid on. We watch Resident Alien, like her series, or Bosch, right? I mean, which is detective stuff is fun, but like B movies, B TV shows, B level actors.
Yeah.
We have this healthy balance of getting our smart on and our stupid on. And
I love documentaries. I love stories about music. I'm a huge music fan. So if you show me any kind of documentaries on musicians and their stories, like, oh God.
I didn't even know Spinal Tap was a fake band. It was a fake documentary about a band that didn't exist.
Right.
I thought Spinal Tap was like this band that existed from the 70s. Guys, Google search Spinal Tap at home to know what we're talking about. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's there's so much good content out there. Yeah. It's amazing,
But it's also about having the bandwidth to know what to take in, good
discernment.
or bad. Yeah.
Discernment is huge. So
it's recreating your own world.
Yeah.
Again, in New York.
Yeah.
I was invited to go to the beach. Hey, come to Brighton Beach. I'm like, nope, not going. It's too isolated. Hey, Jay, we set up a grass court upstate. I'm like, I appreciate the invitation, but there's only 4 of you up there, and there's nobody else. I spent every single afternoon, every single day in Central Park, and I ran into 150 people.
So great.
that new faces, people I haven't seen in 10 years, people and whatever, and that was just me reshaping my own world and everybody else
and keeping your connections, and you're good at that.
It was great.
It's important.
Yeah.
Can I tell you one more thing that's come out of this? Knowing myself.
Yeah, please.
So I told you, like, we went, Optimists Journal, Bebettermedia, and now I have my coaching modality. It's called Healing Home, and I very much believe in the way that we train our own body, our own nervous system creates like a collective nervous system around us, right? So your home feels a certain way because of the way you've treated yourself, the way you've trained yourself. And so now I'm starting to do life coaching based on my Healing Home methodology, mostly for women who have come through life transitions, divorce, empty nesting, big career transitions, where we don't feel as safe as we used to and learning to create that safety from within so that then you can connect in a strong way. As you know, as you grow, you connect better in your relationships and in your business relationships and even in your friendships.
Why don't you feel as safe as you used to?
Oh, that's a whole divine masculine, divine
Where?
feminine
Yeah, I know.
conversation.
Guess you got to come back on and do
Yeah,
that.
that's like, I mean, you know, we all women show up in the world a certain way, men do too. We all have divine masculine and feminine within us. Like, you know, there are ways that I have had to show up because, you know, you get faced with a certain situation with, you know, your kids and you're like, wait, you know, as a single parent, you don't have someone to turn to. So there are things that I don't feel safe because I can't be the man in a house. I can't teach my boys how to be an 18-year-old boy, right? I've never been that.
No more than we would
Right?
ask a man to teach
Exactly.
a girl how to be a woman.
100%.
Right.
So how do we show up and honor the parts of ourselves? Like, it doesn't mean I can't take control. I can't take charge, but you will become, you know, my hyper independence, you know, acting like I have it all together when I don't. There's so many things, but what makes you feel unsafe is just not having that assurance within you that, like, I can be my feminine self, right? And that's something that you create for yourself. And someone else doesn't give that to you, but you really have to know how to tap back into it. And it's taken me a while to do that. I'm there now. And like I say, everybody's got their moments. There's no perfect.
Yeah.
But I can help other people. And it's one of my favorite things to do when people say, like, I get it. I feel calmer. I feel safer in my body. I feel safer in my home. And that comes with, you know, the energy work that I can do, the coaching that I can do. I have a partner that she does fascial stretch therapy, which, like, our fascia is, you know, holding all the stories that we think we've let go of. But,
Yeah.
you know, and she does this incredible modality, like, it'll blow you away. And so I'm partnering with her and she's the mobility, I'm the meditation, and we're doing this kind of helping the nervous system unwind. And it's really rewarding and I'm really enjoying it. So,
But I would also suggest that there is a character armor that requires chipping away that, again, generates what I said about coveting what you see every day.
mm-hmm.
You cover what you see every day. Your fears, your love and your hatred is also built by what you see every day. They hate this person. Like remember we were talking about racism? It's not birth thing, it's taught,
Yeah.
you know, and it takes a while to chip away, not just the fascia, but something we call character armor.
Yeah.
Something to protect ourselves,
Yeah, it doesn't mean everybody...
unnecessarily or necessarily,
Yeah.
albeit.
No, everybody doesn't get every story. You know, there is a certain amount of protection that people carry around because everybody's not entitled to every story.
Right.
Only you keep your close tribe and you hope you have those people that you can share these things with. But, you know, but authenticity does matter, and you can let people you can still be authentic and not tell. You don't have to dump your whole story on every single person that walks by. Right.
No.
You know.
No. Look, we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes because
Yeah.
I know we eventually have a hard stop somewhere, but that doesn't mean we have to stop that hard at that time. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah. This has been great.
It was a great episode because we didn't even actually talk about sports, which is kind of our jam. I mean, like the UFC was really good. You know, Wimbledon was fantastic, right? Both finals. Never mind the finals, but like the early rounds, like everything. You
oh
know,
my gosh,
you know.
Upset Central. You know.
We could have also had a
you know.
nuanced discussion about the league versus the tour, which I don't want to get into right now, but I will. If anyone wants to know my immediate position, I 100% support the league because I know the direction. I understand how franchises works. I understand how league expansion works, right? But in regards to volleyball or just sports, I just want to warn all of you, like people who talk about growing the game. If you want to grow the game and if you want to support people growing the game, I just want you to look at the people who are doing actual volleyball activism, right? Mm-hmm. Like the people that saying they want to grow the game, what are they doing to grow the game? What have they done to grow the game? What have they done the last 10 years to grow the game, right? me, I have a pretty good, I'm going to talk about myself a little bit, but my volleyball activism speaks for itself. Los Angeles Volleyball Club, we do a tryout process for girls from the South Bay, but also South Central. We offer club scholarships from girls, players of color or whatever, because it's a predominantly white sport in the South Bay.
Yeah.
That
I told
that
you,
are interested.
I realized that when Lauren was a bishop,
Yeah.
and we'd go this way, and I'm like, how are we 5 miles from the Maricosa, the volleyball powerhouse in the country, right? At that point, and you're like, the skill level was dropped off. But like, where's the coaching?
Yeah. The good news is coaching is.
But now it's gotten so much better with things like that.
Well, coaching got better because of my degree in theater performance, which make people walk away like, get out of here, what? But no, coaching was the easy part. But like the volleyball activism, like this podcast right now, there are some volleyball podcasts that feel like they need to only interview top players,
right?
Because they either believe they need that to survive or to sustain, or they think that because those people are blue check people, that their stories are more interesting. Yeah. And that's not true. Like I had Kristen Nuss, right? But then a couple episodes later I had Rowdy Lennon, who know a lot of people, Santa Cruz kid, who just made his first main draw.
Awesome.
And like all of Santa Cruz, by the way, that was love. They're so big on volleyball.
I know.
And I didn't know Jacob Landell was a head coach there, the Banana Slugs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, La Prima's like kind of
BFF
and partner.
Either.
Yeah. So a crazy Division III program doing like
I know Stanford
D1
used to always
things.
play them.
They have to because they're D3, but they're in a conference where they have to play D3 and D1 teams. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, what are you doing if you want to grow the game? And if you know what growing the game means, because some people think growing the game is having more teams in Manhattan Beach.
I was going to say, you don't grow it in the same backyard.
No, that's to me, Manhattan Beach is beautiful and it's nostalgic,
sure.
but it's a vanity project.
Yeah,
it's a yearly vanity project where it's harder to get to than the league, and Friday's okay, Saturday's pretty better, and Sunday's like, the match that looks like it saves the sport until Monday, right? Which I really didn't mean to get into volleyball, but I was just trying to say, like, if you want to grow the game, start listening to and start following some of the people who are practicing not symbolism, but volleyball, which is a good thing too. Yeah. Because if you're good at symbolism, that at least awakens minds, right? That's not a bad thing.
Right.
But follow people who are doing volleyball activism.
Yeah.
And don't do what they do. Watch their mistakes. Watch my mistakes. I'm full of it, right? Or that's good. So I guess I'll let all the haterade come out, but I will say that some people say it and some people show it.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to say about that.
I love
which we could talk about volleyball later.
I love the sport, and I learned to love the sport in 8th grade when they brought it to Fresno, California. Yeah. So you got to get out of your own backyard.
Did you see my blog about it? Central Park volleyball.
Yes.
The woman rink.
Yeah.
That was the Russians from Brighton Beach. That was the Dominicans from Uptown. That was the Polish guys from South Brooklyn. Yeah. That was the Koreans from Flushing. That was the Chinese from Chinatown, who, by the way, were playing nine-man. The mini. Yes, they have a mini before Chinese nationals. Yeah. They have something called a mini, which is like a regionals, I guess like an invitational, a pre-nationals thing.
Okay.
And you're talking crowd, like, Manhattan six man, right? Manhattan Beach 6-man. It's the same thing, except it's in Chinatown. It's outdoor on the concrete, and it is controlled chaos. As I'll pull some up on YouTube before we go. So but all of these people came through. That's growing the game because they would not go if no one knew, and those are people that don't normally attend those events. There was also a Balmeso Invitational. Yeah, the best Dominicans in New York City were playing on 145th, and these people had other options, other volleyball options, not just other options, other volleyball options, and they showed up. That's growing the game. So whether you're a league person or that's what you have to. That's the I don't know. That's the format you have to follow. Let me show people what this looks like. This is Elevate Yourself. This is Coach Donnie. Big kudos to Coach Donnie. Oh, this is the historic part. I just want to see what it looks like.
That's how I learned how to play volleyball with nine players on the court.
Okay, so that's basketball. Donnie, let's get to the good part.
And attack front row.
Oh, that's the size of the court. All right, here it is. Here's a better video.
The content rule, which is in alignment with the...
Donnie, we love you. I want to see some action. No, because he goes to the history part. Like what people don't know is that volleyball used to be 9-man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's
the
how I
tournament
learned
still
There it
takes
is.
place
in 5th grade.
Look at this control chaos. So they have like 4 back row defenders, 5 blockers. So I'm gonna do 6 and 3.
Wow.
So like every play is like a 3-man block. You know, it's ridiculous. And that's the setting. That's not New York, but that's Chinatown somewhere.
That's awesome.
You know, so and again, no more volleyball. We're not going to talk about that
Okay.
anymore. But I want to
Yeah.
land by saying that's volley. You know, if you want to grow the game, don't follow the people who are just famous.
Right.
Follow the people who are doing volleyball activism. I thought Sinjin has done a pretty good job in that respect.
Yeah.
If I have to cite one person from old school, because, nope, not gonna say it. I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yeah.
Books. What's the last good book you read? In fact, turn around. Let's grab that 365 days.
Oh yeah.
I want to know what's up with that. Just show everybody what that looks like on the screen. There you go.
Where am I?
Yeah, they get you.
How do I do this?
Just
Where I know-
pull it up where the microphone is. I'll give it a full screen, in fact. Put it on your right side or left side. There you go.
There it is. Directionally
365
challenged.
days of optimism.
Yep.
Girl,
And
give me
there's-
the book. I
at-
got it.
I know. I'm not a
Jeez.
self-promoter.
Can't take you nowhere. This is 365 Days of Optimist. Not, this isn't just a book that turns your frown upside down. This is a book that changes the way you think. This is the way you guide your daily life. This is the book that allows you to have healthy habits. And when I say healthy habits, I'm not talking, again, we're not talking about a goal. We're talking about things you do every day without thinking.
Yeah.
For example, when you brush your teeth in the morning, do you think about brushing your teeth? Or do you just brush?
Right.
So she has this way of doing these things that are synonymous with brushing your teeth, where it is your impulse to just do it, and all of a sudden your mind's right. All of a sudden your body feels better. Your body feels strong. All of a sudden, you know your body. You know, you start finding out what works with you for you diet wise, and your body will tell you that. When you start throwing good things in your body, you know what's going to happen. Your body's going to tell you that. So unless you have a parasite or something,
Right. No, you can heal all these things.
yeah,
you know?
I love that book.
Yeah. Thank you, Jay.
I love that book.
What's the last book you read?
The last book I read, I'm finishing that one. It's called Fight.
Oops, excuse me. All right. That looks good.
That's
too.
what happened in 2024, and what not everyone was talking about in the White House.
Cool.
So Jake Tapper wrote a book about like Biden's condition and this and that, but the whole time he's kicking people off the show that were saying Biden might not be this. So he's talking about you're not a doctor, you're not qualified, and the whole time what is he doing?
He's writing a book.
about
See,
it.
there's
But
an
this
authentic-
isn't Jake Tapper. This is
Okay.
Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes, and this is a really good book.
Okay,
this is,
cool.
This is everything that happened behind the scenes from both parties, inside and outside the White House. It is very, very interesting.
Cool.
You know, so
Mine is Cathedral of the Wild.
yeah,
So it goes back to the just cool stories about traveling the earth and
nice,
the things we learn from nature and connecting. So
nice.
yeah.
And I got a bunch of future episodes coming up. I think Eric Baranek just called me gay
Oh, right on. I haven't seen
so I
Eric
could get
in a while.
Gino Urango's number.
Cool.
Because Urango showed up to the Central Park courts.
I saw
Not
your
the woman
post.
rink, but
I
she
did
showed
see your
up. And,
yeah, that's amazing.
and you know what's weird? She's like my wife. She flies under the radar. She has like
Yeah.
this tiny head and like these big set of sunglasses. And you kind of see each other from like 30 feet away, and you do this at the same time, kind of.
Do I know?
Like, hi,
Yeah.
yeah. No, like, just
Yeah.
like, because in shades, you don't know.
Yeah, no, that's what I
So
mean.
you have to do this
think,
like
but you don't
synchronous
know.
swimmers.
Yeah.
So came
Nice.
over and introduced her to some people, and some of the younger guys were like gawking over Newberry.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh my God, who's that? What's her Instagram?" I'm like, "I'm not. You do it yourself." And,
Yeah.
so they went on the roster, like the
Yeah.
women's UCLA roster for beach volleyball. He's like, "Dude, they're all freaking 10s."
Welcome to beach volleyball.
Yeah, it's just they're all 10s.
Yeah.
They really are. So I guess that's all I got. Let's plug your website. Let's plug your Insta.
All right.
And
Yeah, I have a new
we can wrap
Instagram.
up
It's
here.
Yeah, it's just my name. I have a Bebettermedia.life still, highlighting like the people that were following the stories outside of me. Then I have we'll put it in the show notes. It's like a hyphen, Wendy Jones.
Gotcha.
And that's where all my healing home, generational learning, just my life, because I don't think that there's that big of a difference between the way you live and the way you coach. So if there is, I don't believe in gurus. I really just believe in trying to help people connect to the greatest parts of themselves. And sometimes you just need a little,
Yeah.
it's just nice to have somebody to.
Is that your
walk
last piece of advice for everybody?
Yeah, you just need someone to, motivate, walk the road with you. Like, I love doing that. So,
Yeah.
and then bebettermedia.tv.
There it is.
Yeah.
My last piece of advice is make your bed in the morning.
So
'Cause
true. That's
when
a
you-
great speech, that book that
Yeah.
the general did.
That was a general.
I think
you
so.
you completed the first task of the day or
Yes,
something like that.
exactly. Set you up
But
for success.
the broader point I wanted to get before we go is when you make your bed in the morning, you could have a good day and you can have a bad day, right? And if you have a bad day, there's something really valuable about coming back home. You go to the bedroom and you see this nice made bed, right? So it's like this thing where you kind of feel a little bit better about yourself, and the day was, whether it was good or bad, it wasn't that bad.
Right. So true.
Right?
Yep. It's
You
another
got
point of gratitude.
Nice.
Got a
So,
comfy bed.
all right. So Wendy Jones might love you guys, but I don't love any of you guys. In fact, I can't stand you. In fact, I'm out of here. All right. So for all of you at home, for all of you on your iPads and iPhones and desktops, for all of you on your desktop, who runs the world? That's us, old school, old school. I am Jason DeBias with the Aloha hat. That is Wendy Jones with the Jesus Says hat, I guess. This is the Option Podcast. This is episode 249. We're going to hit my music. Stay with me, Wendy. We are out of here. Come check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.